Okay, on this sheet, we're going to be looking at converting between fractions, decimals, and percentages. So first thing we can be looking at is this triangle. So we've got fractions, comes down to decimals. So to get from a fraction to a decimal, we do our numerator, which is the top number, divided by the bottom. Okay, so for example, if we had 2/5, that would be 2 on the inside divided by 5. Okay, and so 5's into 2 is 0, decimal point, carry the 2 over onto the 0, 5's into 20 gives us 4, so 2/5 is equal to 0.4. To get from a decimal to a percentage, what we do is we take our decimal and we multiply it by 100. So if we take our decimal from up there, we've got 0.4 multiplied by 100 gives us 40%. Okay, so we're moving it 1, 2 positions. So a 0 would go into there. Okay, so then if we wanted to go backwards, all we would then do is just do the inverse. So we'd divide it by 100. So we'd take the 40%, divide it by 100, and then we'd then get our 0.4 back. To get from a percentage to a fraction, what we do is we take whatever the percentage is, and because a percentage is out of 100, we stick it over 100. Then we can look to simplify it. So even if it's like a top-heavy fraction, say for example, say on here we had 110%, we could do 110 over 100, and then we could simplify it. So we've got 100 goes into 110 one whole time, and then remainder 10 over 100, and then we could look to simplify the fraction part. Okay, so this is what we'll refer back to at various points to go through it. So we've got various questions now on here to have a look at. So it says, right, 0.29 as a percentage. So I've got a decimal, so then use my card and say, right, decimal to a percentage means decimal times by 100, so multiplied by 100. So I've got 0.29 multiplied by 100. So I need to move all the values to place values. So 1, 2. So I've then got an answer of 29%. Next one, then I've got 5 over 100 as a decimal. Okay, so I've got 5 divided by 100. 100 can't go into 5, so I carry over the 5, put my decimal place. 100 into 50, again, doesn't go. This time I need to carry all of the 50 over. So 50 carries over. 100 into 500 goes 5. No remainders, so I've got my decimal. Okay, next one, I've got a decimal to a percentage. So just like question 1. So this time I'm going to do 0.3 multiplied by 100. Again, move it 1, 2 places. So I've got 30%, because I would have had an extra 0 there. Then doing the inverse, I've got 18 divided by 100. So if my decimal place was at the end, coming backwards, then that's given me 0.18. Okay, just going to scoot down to a few of the other ones, which are slightly different in us. We don't necessarily need to use that triangle for all the questions, but for question 6, we have got where we've got a fraction, sorry, a decimal that needs to go to a fraction. So anything after the decimal place, we're going to stick on top, and we're going to stick it over 1. However many numbers you've got after the decimal place, that's how many zeros you've got. Okay, so if I look at the bottom one as well, I've got 0, 3. So the 3 goes on top over 1. I've got 1, 2 digits, and I've got 1, 2 zeros that go on. The reason we do this is because if we think about our place value systems, we've got the ones column, or the units, depending on what you've got it as. And then after that, you've got tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so on. And even up here, tens. All of these numbers are starting with 1, either as a wholes or as fractional parts, because our place system's all based off of 10. So any decimals that need to go to a fraction, whatever's after the decimal point goes on top, over 1, and then however many digits are after, we can then put that on. So for example, question 12, we've got 2 and 5 over 1, 1, 2 numbers, 1, 2, 0 digits. Okay. Last ones then just to have a look at is when you've got a fraction to a percentage. So some fractions to a percentage, you're going to need to follow this route round and go fraction to a decimal, decimal to a percentage. But also look for little tricks as well and say, right, I know percentage is out of 100 in total. So if I can just change my denominators quite quickly to 100, whatever I do to the bottom, I can then do to the top. So for here, all I'm doing is multiplying by 2 there. If I now multiply my top by 2, gives me 6 over 100. Because a percentage means out of 100, that means I've got 6%. And then that is very much it. Enjoy.